Hey there, I'm Joe Scheibelhut, and I play Rod Cheesley in the action-packed romantic comedy thriller Harvey Putter and the Ridiculous Premise. In 2008, I flew up from sunny Florida to spend the summer in northern Indiana to be a part of this incredible adventure. And like Bryce Cohn, who plays Harvey Putter, I've been in Tim Richardson's films since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So it was really cool to get to work with Bryce again and meet a lot of other cool new people along the way. A lot of planning, design, and a zillion-dollar budget went into creating the world of Harvey Putter and his friends, and I'm going to show you how it was done in this behind-the-scenes documentary. In the fall of 2006, just after the last film, The Dork of the Rings, director Tim Richardson and producer Michael Corabetes started working on their next script. For a year and a half, they met weekly to hash out ideas and determine what the story was actually going to be.
So after Dork of the Rings, a colossal, fantasy project for, an independent film with a small budget, I couldn't believe that we were talking about doing a Harry Potter parody.
The script writing process was a bit laborious, seeing as we had to compress at least what was then projected to be about 7 books, but at that time, only the 4th movie had been out, The Goblet of Fire.
They took it from there, and Tim especially did a major amount of work in compressing these things down.
First thing we did, Jim, Michael, and I, was sit down and watch all 4 Harry Potter movies that had been out at that time, at least, and started making notes, coming up with jokes.
We'd meet about twice a week, once or twice, and discuss, just throw out ideas. We started with a step outline, going back and forth. I mean, there were ideas like, Harvey Putter would have been killed at the beginning, and then we had this non-magical person take his place.
All kinds of other ideas that we went through over the next year that came and went, that worked with the script or didn't work with the script.
I personally thought that the script itself had a lot of energy, a lot of zaniness, a lot of really, really good one-liners.
Actually, I really enjoyed the script. It was very silly, and what was actually the funnest part for me was, you read the script, and it was entertaining, and you could see, okay, we're going to have some fun filming this. But then once we actually started filming, and you saw what our actors brought to the characters, oh boy.
The first read-through was fantastic. It was at Indiana University of South Bend, and we had the whole crew there, the whole staff and the whole cast.
I didn't get to be there in person. Sonny and myself, since we lived out of state, had to do a phone video conference, and we got to read our lines, and I didn't get to visually see anyone.
I came out on top because I rock. That whole tech stuff is pure elfdom.
Well, it makes perfect sense. There's Harry Potter, one of the best-selling books of all time. How many millions of Harry Potter fans are out there, and certainly making a spoof of Harry Potter just is a complete no-brainer.
Once they had the main part of the story figured out, they still needed a better grasp on Harvey's character. After a year of writing, Harvey was coming off as a sarcastic celebrity, but they wanted something more defined.
I found a picture of the Harry Potter trio done up like goths, like punks and goths, or with makeup and everything. I'm like, that's it. So I cobbled together in Photoshop a picture of Bryce and brought that to Michael and Jim, and they thought it looked great.
Designing the costume for the character, we looked at a whole bunch of pictures of punk/emo kind of kids, and we just took cues from that. So there's lots of blacks, there's lots of hoodies and buttons and wristbands and stuff like that, and to really make him seem punky.
With the script nearly completed, they started the casting process in the fall of 2007. Bryce had played Frodo Buggins in Dork of the Rings, so they knew they wanted him to be Harvey, but there were at least 50 other characters that still needed to be cast, and they had to resemble or sound like the characters from the real movies, each with a satirical twist.
The auditions at Borders brought in a number of people from around the area. We had an entire acting troupe come down as part of their class, And they all tried out so they would have an opportunity to understand the auditioning process, and we got some very good people to come out of that.
Oh, wet willies! To grind saliva in your ears!
Well, my friend told me about it actually because she had auditioned before, and when I heard they were doing Spoof of Harry Potter, I've been a fan of Harry Potter since the books came out, so I was like, this is my opportunity!
Went to the website and saw they were making a movie, and I was like, I'm gonna be in that movie, I'm gonna be an extra. I was sure I'd be nothing, just an extra, whatever. So I sent in an audition video and got cast.
Yeah, I wanted to do a fun part that would also be a small part with a little commitment. I guess I'm committing to wearing a prosthetic face, though, for the underwear wolf.
I walked out, got into costume, came walking in, had the script in hand. I believe I threw it at Tim's chest. Whap! Hold this. Walked up to the platform and basically went right into it. Mr. Potter. One Potts Calamine.
In Dork of the Rings, I played Randolph, Randolph the Wizard. I was also in Kill the Messenger. I played Captain McCormick.
I got involved in the film. I kind of have an inside source. I know this guy, Tim Richardson, and they're looking for a Harvey Potter character by the name of Rod Cheesley. I got to do a little bit of a audition when he came down to visit, and it just kind of fell into place. So I don't want to say I had an unfair advantage, but I did.
I don't know, I heard about it through a bunch of places, and I think I caught on to the MySpace thing.
I went to the Book 7 release dressed as Draco Malfoy. I had the bleached blonde hair and everything, and I wandered around a bit, and I guess kind of caught their attention because I did end up getting recognized as a costume contest winner.
Gonna sign up for the movie?
Yes, I'm planning on auditioning.
Excellent.
Well, before I met them, and I just gotten on set, and I'd seen them, I thought, oh my God, that guy looks just like Ron. That guy looks just like Harry. They were so well cast, and it seemed like for moments I would completely forget that I was looking at, just local actors who happen to look and act very similar to the fictional characters that they portrayed.
The coolest casting bonus by far was getting London actor Kieran Shaw to fly over for the weekend to play Dumpy the House Schmuck. Kieran has been in scores of films including Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Legend, Lord of the Rings, The Chronicles of Narnia, all my favorite films. Tim and Michael met him at a small Lord of the Rings convention while promoting the Dork of the Rings. They hit it off and stayed in touch.
Dumpy is going to be like a little bit of an animal character, where he will be like a same or a monkey, walk like a monkey, do that, swing arms, and he can do that.
It was great working with him because he was a seasoned veteran that came to us and taught us lots of things, taught us lots about the industry, and also just, he told us funny stories.
Peter Diamond was the stunt coordinator. Even killed. I'm glad you're on this. You can do all the stunts for the Ewoks.
Oh, so you were everybody.
Yeah.
So you were the Ewoks that got killed then, like when they
yeah,
blown
up.
He had lots of stories to tell. He was very professional. He helped the other actors quite a bit, I understand, and he had a lot of good ideas that he brought forward and made the character his own.
Working with a professional was, for somebody who I couldn't, his ability to just snap in and out of character, to go from being Kieran to character and back and forth without even like, oh, time to act again, okay, back in character, and immediately somehow assume the traits and qualities of this little house elf.
He's just so full of energy, and his mannerisms are hilarious. And to see him with a Smurf hat on and a potato sack is even more hilarious.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect it to be what it was, as big as it was. For me personally, pretty life-changing experience, I'd say. He really, I think when he walks into the room, everybody, it's like a magnet. Everybody sees him and respects him instantly. And it's just the way he carries himself.
Another boon was getting MuggleNet webmaster Emerson Spartz to make a cameo spoofing himself. Emerson runs the world's #1 Harry Potter fan site. He travels to movie premieres, got to interview J.K. Rowling, and has a New York Times best-selling book. As luck would have it, he didn't live very far away from where we were filming.
Well, Tim actually realized that we both lived pretty much in the same city, in Indiana, actually, and he showed up to, I was doing a book signing and discussion, to promote my most recent book, What Will Happen in Harry Potter 7. And I met Tim, and he explained that they were filming a Harry Potter spoof movie, and we just thought it made perfect sense for me to have some involvement in the film.
Emerson was great. He came in and had never done any acting and was totally cute and shy about it. It was hilarious. And then he totally blew me away. He was great.
He turned in a very good performance. He was quite lively, and I was surprised at how professional he acted.
I basically play an extreme version of myself. Everson Sputz is the creator of a big Harvey Potter website, and he has to help the characters as they get themselves in trouble, and with his vast knowledge of the Harvey Potter world, he's called upon to help them.
Well, in my book, What Will Happen in Harvey Potter 7, I predict that Harvey will travel to the most magical place on Earth.
Snogwarts? Disneyland?
Hell no, the Harvey Potter Land theme park.
The funniest thing about working with Emerson was he had trouble getting into the geekdom of his character, which is kind of funny because, I mean, he's a dude that writes books about Harry Potter.
Having to play the part of somebody who, I'm already pretty geeky, I'm already a pretty big nerd, but I had to take it to this incredible extreme, and it's almost like I couldn't get more annoying. Like, no matter what I was trying to act, I had to be more annoying, more geeky, and more extreme.
It was just funny watching him struggle on screen. That was kind of funny.
The film required several hundred extras to play students at Snogwarts and during the Mega Magimulicon scene. Dedicated kids and their parents showed up every weekend to shoot on our soundstage or on location. They also helped keep me out of trouble on the set. I think some of the kids even made it to every single shoot that needed extras. They were a lot of fun.
We had a couple of scenes where we had a lot of kids show up in the main hall, for example. Some of the classroom scenes, we had a number of kids on the set. They behaved themselves very well. It was long hours, and there was a number of times when they just had to be patient, and they behaved great. The parents came along, kept track of them. Everybody seemed to have a good time.
So how'd you hear about this? Did you hear it from him?
Well, okay, he made some references to it, and then, so we just, me and my friends just decided to come and to be extras.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really kind of cool and sort of weird to see him here.
They were so into this whole process, and they were so eager to do this, and it was interesting having them sort of look at us as some kind of authority figure, because I felt like I was absolutely no more experienced than they were at what I was doing.
Your fans are saying goodbye to you. Do you have anything to say to your fans?
Solo.
Solo! There you go. This little girl, she was telling me earlier she loves you. Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
I love you, Harvey! Oh, thank you. Your fans, they love you.
What can I say? To 10-year-olds, I'm adorable.
The one thing that I think Brooke, one of the things that she has going for her is she's got a really good temperament with people, but especially with children.
If I didn't have all the extra kids on set, I don't know what I would have done. I probably would have gone crazy, because in between takes or in between scenes, I'm trying to keep my energy level up.
I think I went to all of them except for one that was just for adults. I think I've been to all of the others.
Yeah, she went to all the casting calls that required students.
Oh, cool. All right.
I went to 3 of the adult ones.
The size of this project is huge, and that's what makes it interesting, because we have never had this large of a cast, and also especially this large of a crew. We have someone doing lights, sound, photography, and a whole bunch of other things. It's nice to have that many people.
With hundreds of characters and extras, there were tons of costumes that needed to be bought, borrowed, and built to spec. Our head costume designer, Janice Bennett, the lovely lady who designed the award-winning Randolph the Wizard costume, was up for the task. She and Tim created many of the costumes and oversaw their design and construction.
It was a lot of work, a lot more than even Dork of the Rings, with all the costumes we had to have for all the extras and all the main actors. Fun Effects was very generous. They had a bunch of costumes. They were getting rid of old robes and things, so we could fill up a box.
Janice and Tim came together, and very early on, and almost immediately, trying to figure out what the costumes would look like.
And she appeared as an actress in the film herself in her own costume. And she's the candy witch that comes through the train. But she also designed the wizard costumes and some of the others that really stand out and bring the characters forward.
I was in this pink and purple floral arrangement kind of thing with this black wig on, and I mean, what's the lotion master going to wear? I mean, he's into lotions.
I was in charge of making Harvey and Rod's costumes primarily, designing them. I even made basically like a paper doll version of Harvey and Rod based off of pictures of Joe and Bryce, and would draw a hoodie or pants or other things on them, then scan them in the Photoshop and do them in different layers, do them in different colors, and see which outfits I liked before we went out and spent money.
We just had our lovely fitting, costume fitting, and they, the production team picked, I think, this fetching number for Seriously Whack. I don't know if this is going to be the final, but it is lovely.
I'm trying on my costume.
So what do you think?
It's something.
I really like Scott's costume as Haggard. It totally transforms him into the character. It's great. McGonagall is, of course, very witty and creative as far as costumes go.
The Mumblemore head, it's covered with felt, and we went out and trying to figure out how on earth are we going to make this head for the theme park to be worn by the character himself.
He stalks Harvey almost 24/7. In fact, this costume, he's wearing this costume, wearing this shirt because Harvey has touched it. He hasn't taken it off.
Well, I thought the costume was really fun. I mean, first of all, I didn't have to wear the same costume every single shoot. For our last 2 films, that's what I've had to do. All these different parts and combining them, and today I got to pick exactly what I wanted to wear when we were playing out and everything, so that was nice getting picked out. And I get to wear cool things like these shoes, aren't these wicked rad?
It was almost like, it was the same story that J.K. Rowling had written, but the characters were suddenly taken from this magical world that we're all used to from reading the books and plunked them straight down into my hometown of LaPorte, Indiana, with its resident population of emos, of, white trash, I guess not really the weirdo, in Professor Snake's case, the weirdos wearing pink robes and teaching lotions class, but the rest of them, it felt very real.
Since I live out of town, I wasn't able to try out my costume pieces until a few days before shooting began. We also cut and dyed my hair a ridiculous shade of red. My clothes look very filthy and well-worn, but most of the items were, believe it or not, bought brand new or gently used and required costumers to diligently age them, such as this gem of a piece right here.
What I'm doing here is weathering this hoodie for the Rod Cheesley character because he's very poor and his clothes would be old and worn and ratty. And then I'm taking the sandpaper and I'm basically take an area like where the elbow would be and kind of rub it out a bit. But the thing to be careful about is you don't want to go too far and have it just look like it's completely falling apart all over the place, because there's a fine line between distressed and ridiculous. So.
We are dyeing Rod Cheesley's hair. This is Joe Scheibelhut. You can introduce yourself, I suppose.
I'm Joe Scheibelhut. That is much redder than before. The film required a number of prosthetics and specialty makeup for characters, especially Kieran's Dumpy the House Mutt costume. Several talented sculptors and makeup artists helped bring these characters to life.
We're doing a test makeup of his prosthetics and his colors, and we'll put his hat on him and test his costume, just make sure everything's going to work out right so there's no surprises tomorrow.
And right now I'm just trying to sketch where I want the highlights to appear in the dumpy makeup, and also making plans as for how the prosthetics should be applied, so if I'm not on hand, that we'll have a good roadmap.
We also did the underwear wolf. I had found some pieces at Fun Effects that Joe Scheibelhut and I put together on Chad and did up his makeup that night.
It's Jen's phone right now.
Is it?
It's like. So how do you create a Harry Potter style universe and castle on a shoestring budget and actually have it look good? That's the challenge that faced the designers from the beginning of the project.
As you can see behind me, we're working on different sets here. We're doing the different walls for the Snogwarts Castle that will be interchangeable. So these same walls, windows, etc., doorways will be used for the classroom scenes, Mumblemore's office, for the hallways, just rearranged different ways. And of course, set dressing will be key.
Yeah, the sets for Harry Potter were magnificent, and although we wanted to match the magnificence in the original films, we didn't have that much money. So we made many trips to the various Salvation Army stores and St. Vincent de Paul, and accumulated quite a collection of eclectic bits and pieces which we pulled together.
These sets, the castle sets, the walls are incredible. In fact, all of my friends have been really impressed. I've sent them pictures and they say, "Oh, it looks like these Harvey Potter people are really, they know what they're doing, they're professionals." And I go, hee hee.
When I walked in and saw the dining hall was the first thing that I saw on stage for Harvey Potter, and I was completely blown away. I mean, just mouth open, blown away. It was unbelievable.
Oh God, that reminds me. Yes, the columns. Especially when you would have people that weren't there filming every day. They would come in, you know, for their shoot that day. And in between shots, they'd go to like lean against one of the columns thinking, oh, there's a column here. And the whole thing would come falling over and people are like, ah, grabbing parts as it's coming down on their head and stuff, you know. It's just like, that's not a real column, you know.
I have greatly enjoyed the sets. It's nice to be in a practical environment where there's actual walls, and it definitely helps set the mood.
I like it. This is wonderful set. I mean, if you look around, this is brilliant set. You got everything right.
I just can't imagine how long it took to put together the elaborate sets in, under the conditions that you guys had to do it in. It was just amazing.
Once they decided on a plan, the next step was finding an adequate location like a large warehouse to put the sets in. The location also needed to be fairly convenient for everyone to travel to for weekend shoots, as well as for set changes during the week. This turned out not to be such an easy task.
We had gone location hunting for several months around town and had talked to a couple of different people who had properties that might become available.
Down to the wire, the last thing I could find was an abandoned beer factory that was surrounded by prostitutes and heroin addicts.
So we were really blessed, I think, to get the space at Better World Books. I'd only worked there a month when we had an actual, like a gas leak or something. So we all had to go outside. And while we were waiting, it was so cold out, they put us into this other warehouse that was on the same property, and it was completely empty. I'm like, wow, this would be a great soundstage.
So it was, thanks to, at the very last day, I believe, Tim was able to wrangle the space for us.
Better World Books has been doing a great job supporting the arts by allowing us to use this space. We need a large area to film these gigantic sets, and they're really helping us out.
It was a terrific time. Unfortunately, there was no air conditioning, but there were no prostitutes or heroin addicts either. So that was great. And we had also indoor plumbing. So we were very grateful for that too, you see.
Besides the awesome warehouse at Better World Books, we also needed to film at several outdoor locations during the day and after dark, plus some unique interiors such as the locker room scene and Zoophilius Lunkhead's shabby apartment. We also got to film some scenes at a local castle.
One of the challenges in Harvey Potter was to try and find a castle so we didn't have to CG everything.
The gentleman built this house, and it is a house with a castle front. I mean, this comes equipped with a moat, a drawbridge. It was, without a doubt, just it's an amazing feat of architecture.
The Byre Castle is just really cool.
My own home turned into a location shot for the iniquitous den of Zoophilius.
Yeah, we were able to get, a lot of help from South Bend, Indiana to help us get this produced, actually from the government. We were able to shoot at Potawatomi Zoo. We were able to and other sites like that.
And also the Mishawaka Library was very gracious in letting us shoot some of the climactic scenes there at their library into the wee hours of the morning. Those were most of the stuff was shot in the warehouse, but we were really fortunate with where we lived to be able to find a lot of great places to shoot other scenes.
In addition to the multitude of costumes and the many sets, the film required all kinds of props. From individual characters' wands to 100 hand-painted lotion bottles to smoking turkeys, the art team definitely had their work cut out for them.
My favorite prop, probably the PMS, especially because when I've got the PMS in my hands and I'm pretending to do the PMS thing, I can get in the zone. it's easy to get in the zone.
I made Hernia's PMS device, and it really ended up embodying like what was a steampunk Palm Pilot almost like thing.
This camera is really, really heavy. Camera, this is probably twice the weight of your camera, and I even took the battery out.
We had a number of props, quite a few props, for the Harvey Putter movie. Of course, everybody carried a wand, or nearly everybody carried a wand.
I had a close relationship with my wand that I kept in my pants 90% of the time. It was basically ripped in half, had Band-Aids and bubble gum holding it together, so it's, you know, it's a pretty fitting wand for the cheese.
The feather on the wand kept falling off, and so Jed would go and get some more tape, or I think Kevin was trying to get it back on there, and Ian, and it just, that wand, the feather did not want to stay on there.
Our Voldemort has a money covered wand, and mine was some light up thing.
We had quite an array of props. We had the Gobbler of Fire, which was a burnt turkey. We had, the wands were all unique to each individual. That's something we really wanted to have done. On top of that, we had to deal with the paintings, of course, that were green screened in. We had bottles galore, especially for Professor Snake, who's the lotions master, and a number of other items that are just remarkable how it all came together for us.
So what about creatures? On a small budget, the art team couldn't create everything digitally, as would be done in Hollywood, so they had to construct many of the magical beasts practically. These would include Hagrid's lopsided liver grouts, the contents of the Lunchbox's secrets, the Monster Muffin Book of Monster Muffins, and many more. Like Harley.
I really love puppets. I'm a big Jim Henson fan, and I've worked with making some puppets here and there over the years. And so we had a lot of practical puppets that would work in the film instead of doing them in CGI. I like that organic feel, things you can touch.
I'm actually working on the badger puppet for the Squidditch scene. We kind of left it to the last minute, so now we're making it in an afternoon. But it's turning out pretty cool.
One of the challenges that we had on Harvey Putter was the Lunchbox of Secrets. The monsters from that were puppets that were marionettes.
We had flying celery and lunchbox sandwiches and things flying around the puppets.
And it was hectic. Let's just say it's not very easy to have a rancid celery stick come at you correctly and be able to follow it. So they were a lot of fun.
But of course the star puppet, I would have to say, is our Pimping Hat. And I'm doing the voice for the Pimping Hat in the final film, and I would do it sometimes on set for us, depending on what was happening for that shot and whatnot. Sometimes it's Tim, sometimes it's me, it just all depends.
Yo man, Pimping Hat can't breathe in the bag, baby!
I did some designs, I made some drawings of what I wanted it to ultimately look like, which were pretty close to what was in the film. Maybe Tim can like insert one over, see, look, there it is, right there. That's my concept art, see? See, now if he doesn't put it in, it's gonna look kind of silly.
Once everything was in place, the real fun began, shooting the movie. We started in late May 2008 and completed principal photography by early August of the same year. It was an incredible experience, but it definitely had many, many challenges, just like a one-legged potato sack race.
It was a little stressful at first just to get everything rounded up and ready to go. It was a lot of fun, but it did have its moments.
Once the pre-production is done, you always face the difficulties of getting the actual shoot itself, getting the images on the video. And that involves, on the set, in the warehouse, it was pretty nice because we could go to the same place. It was indoors. Things went pretty well. All we had to do was basically move lights around and redress the sets. Everything was pretty good. There were a number of scenes where we had to go on location, which meant that we had to pack up everything to take with us. And since we're a non-union small cast shoot, it meant a lot of lifting and hauling for everybody involved.
So a typical day on the set, we'd arrive there, it'd be, maybe a call time would be 8 o'clock. We'd try to get shooting around 9, but things would always be running behind, trying to get things going. And we'd shoot scenes, and we'd try and build a set that would just be that set for the day. So we'd do all the common room scenes on the same day, all the scenes that would be Mumblemore's office and so forth. So you'd have, wouldn't have to move stuff around. But the first day was really long because not only did we have the great hall scene that incorporated every single wall piece that we had built, we had to change that for the evening into a hallway.
The big wand scene was chaos. A lot of the wand scenes are chaos. So I'm typically hiding behind boxes the whole time or, throwing spells out without even looking.
And come up with creative ideas and make them work, and if they look good, we'll throw them in. And so let's do what we can to get through what we have to do, and then we can do what we want to do.
Controlled chaos is what comes to mind. Seeing as Tim was also cinematographer, we had to share duties, and we were always tweaking the script, which is what you do. I mean, sometimes Tim would be setting up the next shot, and I would go out with the actors and run through lines with them. And if I'm always open to, if something's better, we're going to put it in. And Tim was very graceful too with that too.
My favorite thing about this project actually is in between times when we're filming, the cast and crew just get together and we just hang out, and someone usually busts out a guitar. It's typically me. And Joe's got some mouth harps that he plays, and it's just fun. We get together and we just make up songs and we just play, and it's a really musical cast and crew actually.
Bryce had his guitar, and I think I was playing the spoons at one point in time. It was great. There was so much great music.
Some of the cast was so excited about being in the movie, they even went out and got copyright tattoos.
We started pretty early and ran pretty late. However, the organization part of it kept things rolling right along. In a couple of instances, Tim was right there with storyboards, and we went over the storyboards, set up the necessary equipment. Everybody got into place in a reasonable manner, and the set was really fairly well organized for the chaotic movie-making process as it usually is.
Once the film was in the can, the editing process began. And even after shooting, additional scenes had to be filmed months later, such as the baby Harvey scene.
My youngest son, Ryan Matthew Hall, plug. He's available, by the way, if anybody's watching. And he was a bit grumpy. Didn't like wearing the glasses much, but wow, what a professional! As soon as action hit, in the character, he was absolutely perfect the entire time. He would sit there and play with the glasses, try to get him off his head. As soon as they said action, left him alone. He was fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out with him, because I have great expectations, and I'm gonna really put him to high standards now and just torture the poor son.
In August 2009, I was visiting some family in town, so Tim called me up with this idea to add a new scene with me, Bryce, and Professor Trailerani, all done on separate days on the green screen. My hair had grown back and it was just long enough again, so we shot the scene in just a few hours.
It was shot over 3 days with 3 different actors, and none of them were together at the same time, but hopefully you can't tell that from watching the movie.
So I had to have everything carefully planned so that when I videotaped Joe, was the first person up, when he came in that weekend, I needed to know what I was doing. So I storyboarded it, and I did all the characters with my voice.
So how come Hernia doesn't have to take this stupid class? Because she can see the future better than us. She already knew it would blow. Welcome to Dimwit Nation class. I am Professor Trailerani.
And so I knew exactly what angles to shoot Joe from. I needed to shoot him from, different, from front, from back, from side.
It was different because not knowing the technical aspects of how things are all going to go together, I didn't know how it was going to work out. So, he's telling me to sit like this or be right here. Everything had to be just so, since the green screen was there, and, I didn't make sense of it in my mind.
Then we brought in Kate Eller and had all her scenes done the same way.
Well, while we were shooting, I actually I didn't really enjoy shooting the scene because we were just doing one line at a time. There was no interaction with Joe, and of course when Joe's there, he just, he livens up the scene so you play off of him.
So I built the miniature set for it and had to do the classroom side and then also the side that was the front of the classroom. So that was a challenge to be able to put that together, and then took photos of it and color corrected it.
And then on top of that, there's probably about 9 or 10 Andys. Our good friend Andy Swisher is playing several different students along with just like 1 or 2 other people. And so it's amazing how all these people who were shot on completely different days are brought together to form one scene.
Everyone wants to be an actor, but where do you get talented digital effects artists who will work for free? Luckily, Tim had a core team in place, which he assembled during Dork of the Rings, but he would need more artists in order to pull off the effects and magic needed in this film.
So we've been working on it for a long time, a lot of elements. There's a lot of magic in the movie, and so we had to do a lot of magic spells. We didn't use as much green screen as Dork of the Rings, but we had the Quidditch game all shot on blue screen. So that took a lot of work, a lot of rotoscoping, a lot of different people working on things. So we've got a crew of maybe, 12 to 20 people who have, donated at least, from a few effects to constantly working on a lot of effects, including Matt Dunwoody is a kid we found in Australia through YouTube that is doing a lot of different effects for us, that he has some really specialized skills, and so he's done a terrific job working on a lot of different elements for the film.
It's just, it's not really a usual way of making film either. It's kind of cheapish, but it does create a big budget film look, and it is it should be a great film. A lot of laughs out of it.
Matt and I would exchange files and instructions via Skype and be able to talk through webcam and see the work he was doing. And we also actually got him into the movie by me directing him through the webcam and then him sending the files over for me to composite him into the Quidditch scene as one of the announcers.
Cracky, there's a golden snooch. It's like worth 1 billion points or something.
My title was Visual Effects Consultant, which means that I just answered the filmmakers' questions about different kinds of visual effects tasks that came up.
This is the Mary Floppins scene, where she's attacked by magical pigeons from a spell cast by Hernia Grunger. And I have to come up with some pigeons.
And then I have the evil bad guy, and he's trying to create a vortex into another world. So I'm working on creating a vortex and using the horror, the books flying, getting the books to fly right.
Also working with a lot of other people like Bob, and who lives out in Oklahoma, who helped with Dork of the Rings, doing the walls for the stadium of the Quidditch game, as well as for the Great Hall background. So it's just really cool that a lot of these people put in their time, because it's a lot of hard work, and the special effects is very, very time consuming.
Unlike the previous film where all the voices were dubbed later, the hilarious Brian McLaughlin was on the set to record everything we could. The post-production team then lined up all the voice audio, sound effects, and music.
A lot of the challenges during production are probably going to be the challenges on any production in terms of, okay, getting the camera set, getting the light set and everything, and then finding a way to sneak the sound in there somewhere so that we can get good audio but not actually be a part of the scene.
He was a great addition to our staff. Unfortunately you have to turn off the fans in the studio to get good audio.
That primordial quietness that you're always looking for from scene to scene is always constantly interrupted by trains, planes, automobiles.
And the cricket. We would get this occasional cricket here or there that would be just, and you're sitting there trying to film and it's like, son of a gun, where is that thing? So we would go cricket hunting.
The most annoying part of that was really crickets, because crickets are sneaky little bastards.
Then I take it in, and some of the first things I do is I go through and, I guess I call it kind of cleaning the audio up. Getting rid of extraneous noises and whatnot, and working on some of the levels of the audio. Then it's going in and kind of blending all that together, and then starting to layer in some of the effects, some of the ambient noises and sounds that might be in there.
We were fortunate in bringing in a musician who had worked on our previous film, The Dork of the Rings. Mark works very fast, and he works very well. He picks up right away the ideas that are in the material, and it takes very little adjustment once he's got the idea going.
In addition to the orchestral score provided by Mark, we also called upon Harry Potter bands known as Wizard Rockers to lend us some of their songs to use for the soundtrack. Some of them include the Remus Lupins, Oliver Boyd and the Remembrals, and Draco and the Malfoys.
So there you have it. Everything you need to know about the making of this incredible Harry Potter feature film parody. It's a truly remarkable film by fans, for fans, and beyond. For more information, videos, pics, and updates, check out www.harveyputter.com. This is Joe Scheibelhut, aka Rod Cheesley, saying, laters.